the war behind us, our soldiers can finally rest, having achieved the impossible through the unwavering strength of conviction and guidance of the Lord. The Battle of Madrid will forever be remembered as a testament to the bravery and strategic prowess of General Rodil and our valiant troops. Although outnumbered and under-resourced, we emerged victorious, paving the way for conditional terms of surrender, which we must honor. But as we celebrate our triumph, we must also confront the stark reality of our nation's dire situation. Decades of war and loss have left our once great empire in ruins, and rapid industrialization has only further deepened our struggles. Liberals threaten to unravel everything we've worked for, and many refuse to accept our rule. Hope, however, remains. With a new government in Madrid, who must set out to restore our power and glory, and with the guidance of the Lord, I have come to realize that our future lies with the Holy Alliance, an organization that shares our values of conservative Europe and Christianity. In the East, the rebirth of empire awaits us, and with God's blessing, we will rise once again. As we move forward, let us never forget the sacrifice made in this war. May we honor the lives lost and forever cherish the memory of those who have given all for their country. This is the second part of a Carlos multiplayer roleplay game in Victoria 3 as Spain. Hello there.
Greetings. Who am I speaking to?
I am an ambassador sent from the court of King Carlos of Spain at the bequest of, I believe, the Emperor, or at least the foreign minister, to speak with his Imperial Highness.
Welcome, Ambassador. My name is Yuan Guang. We have spoken through our correspondence of letters. I am Master of Foreign Relations for the Divine Emperor of Great Qing, and I'll be happy to host you and
Wonderful.
Meet you.
I thank you for hosting me in your court here. It's a lovely country and a beautiful city. We have much to discuss.
Yeah, I would like to speak to you on matters, obviously about the island of Borneo and the free nation of Britannia, and what your proposals are for the future of that island nation.
Of course.
It's my understanding through our correspondence that you want to see Brunei or Borneo as a free nation, but as part of the Spanish market.
We're seeking a protectorate over Brunei. To just reassess the situation with you, we are approached by members of the officer corps in Brunei in order to facilitate an intervention, given the Dutch are in the process of fully annexing the entire region, which we, much like yourself, I'm sure, do not view as safe or viable. Spain has large interests in Asia, which will only grow larger as King Carlos does see it as principal interest to the rebuilding of Spain in the post-war era. My king has already sent a letter to the Dutch where we have gained their agreement to pull out of the Brunei situation and to end their war, and to allow Spain to be able to intercede and build up the state of Brunei in the region. We're here to negotiate primarily with you on this issue, but on a broader one, which is that Spain is interested in a more direct cooperation with the Qing's government. Though my king does feel strongly that your lack of Christian faith is obviously a major issue, it's also one that you cannot change yourself. His words, not mine. But we're seeking to be able to come to some sort of an agreement. Many European countries are looking at Asia with a close interest, and my king wishes to suggest to you that should we cooperate well in the region, you would have a partner more than a aggressive European nation seeking influence within your own country.
We are not ignorant to the matters of European nations having influence and wanting more influence in Asia. The Emperor, in his infinite wisdom, has seen this as an inevitability. So what we are looking for, quite frankly, is one of such, as in a European power, that we can work with, and that is reasonable. It's not, well, quite frankly, just batshit crazy. So
that's a high ask, I'm afraid, in Europe, but
I understand that, but we're the first with influence in Asia to approach us in a reasonable matter and actually talk on subjects that we want to see a similar end. We have no problem with Spain having tributes. We have many ourselves, but we would prefer it in the public eye to be seen as a choice that Brunei itself has made and could try and work towards that end.
My king would like to speak more in depth with you about potentially trade and economic ties in the future, but until we deal with the Brunei situation, I think perhaps that would be better.
Yep, I do actually have a proposal to put forward to you in case you wanted to have a think about it.
Of course.
As I'm sure you're aware, Portugal have been illegally holding a treaty port on the mainland of China called
Macau. Yes.
Macau, in the region of Guangdong. We would like to see in the midterm this treaty port disappear from our shores, but for the interests of economic ties, we would be interested in potentially seeing the Spanish move into that port.
Let's talk about Macau. We do have a conversation we'll do with the Portuguese where we have discussed cooperation. We're not explicitly hostile. My king has little respect for the queen there, I will be frank with you, but he's a practical, ambitious man who sees the interests of Spain above, is willing to tolerate a woman in control.
Well, we'll just leave that on the table for you. If you did want to perhaps acquire that of the Portuguese, you would have the full support of the emperor in that matter.
It's a talk we're
given
very
our,
much
given our close
interested in.
ties.
Yeah, we will absolutely have that discussion with them.
I thank you for your very productive discussions.
And you as well.
Maybe you've seen my response, my letter to you, King Carlos.
Very relieved to see you having come to Spain to speak with me here in Madrid. The civil war has been disastrous, but I am seeking to rapidly rebuild, and it's a good sign, Governor, to see you having come to Spain just in time for the coronation.
Of course, how could I not? I'm loyal to my king, so and, you do a lot for Cuba. But I would like to discuss more about that. Cuba is having a really bad situation with trying to build up only now working on our government administration and our in iron mines.
You are in need of raw resources. You would allow me to suggest a solution. I have been sending correspondence to Emperor Pedro de Bragança of Brazil to seek economic ties with him. They have an abundance of wood and iron, but primarily wood, that they have not to begin exporting in mass. I was about to send a foreign ambassador to Rio to speak with him. Perhaps you would like to accompany him.
I'll accompany you, and we can talk about that.
I am a ambassador of King Carlos alongside the governor of Cuba, who has come here alongside myself at the bequest of the king to speak with you about what he has written to you. There are many countries we could seek out, including that of Russia, who does share our further of faith, but we come to you primarily due to our history and our hope to I suppose, present a more cooperative face to the Americas, given that we no longer have any reign or influence here besides Cuba after the British's actions.
Well, we certainly welcome this move. We're glad to see more cooperative diplomacy with European powers. As I'm sure you're aware, there has been quite a worry over the continent about European aggression and intervention.
Spain, I wish to communicate from my king that Spain is seeking a reconciliation with its former colonies and other nations of the Americas. We're looking for primarily economic friendship now rather than any colonial rule, as the interests in that regard have shifted dramatically to Asia.
Well, we're very glad to hear it.
As in the letter that was sent by my king, the pinnacle of which is wood. Many nations in Europe and beyond are struggling to meet construction demands as industrialization is taking its full measure. And we were wishing to talk to you about establishing a more in-depth trade. I have recently, my king has opened a trade route with your country, but we would like to see that grow to a larger degree, primarily with wood, as both Spain proper and our friends here in Cuba also are struggling with this problem.
Well, that I'm sure you'll be happy to know that is our future goal. So wood will definitely be on the table for trade.
Wonderful. Are you at the point that you would wish to build a trade agreement with one another? As we to outline what Spain will be attempting to export to many countries is primarily textiles, glass, and luxury clothing, of which we'd be happy to provide your country. We are in the process of building trade agreements with many countries, and obviously those who we work with first will get the lion's share of such things.
Well, that would be certainly beneficial to us, as we are lacking in glass currently on our market. So it would definitely be beneficial.
Good. We actually have a trade agreement with Brazil. That's one of the biggest things I wanted to do at the start. So we did attend the Congress of Europe. I just got told by France that apparently they all decided who got what on the coast of Africa when we weren't there, which I chose not to be there. So that's rough. What I am going to claim the coastline of is Fang all the way up to Oyo. I'm planning to do some stuff in Sokoto later, and then Madagascar, which is the next war we're going to do. That's what we're prepping for right now. while we're rebuilding. As soon as all our states are cored, which we're waiting for right now, we're going to be launching an invasion of Madagascar.
Hello, this is the Private Secretary of King Consort Ferdinand of Habsburg in Consort of Portugal.
As I sent to your queen in the letters, I do want to make it very clear that any relationship we would have would be primarily a colonial one, as the politics of your country are not one I have much respect for, and I think it is likewise the same for mine. But given our proximity to one another and our history, I think it is more worthwhile if we settle aside our internal politics and cooperate on colonial issues.
True. As our kings exchange in their letters, your laws are your laws and our laws are our laws, so we'd have absolutely no interest in interfering in our internal matters, and we do agree with you. We are neighbors. We've been neighbors for all our history.
You obviously have extensive colonies. Ours are very minor compared to when they were after the British taking much of our lands in the Americas, which is why we are now looking to Asia and those regions. I think a talk specifically on how we can support another would be warranted.
Our main purpose concerning colonial expansion is in Africa. Portuguese imperial goals is to have Mozambique has the most important colonial possession of the Portuguese Empire. Though we would like to expand as well in Asia, it's a very competitive region in the world with a lot of European power.
And in Asia, we have a lot of interest there. That will be my primary interest going forward. There's a number of things kind of in play there. We'd be much more interested in supporting broader expansion for Portugal and Africa, especially in the southern region. To put it frankly to you, the regions in Africa I do wish to contend and be involved in is in Madagascar in order to have ports by which to trade and get to Asia much easier, and then in the Nigerian Delta region, as primarily the heathens' actions there in conquest is an affront to our Christian faith.
Then we are not in conflict in Africa. But as the King Consort said in his letter, any joint action made by our two nations, by law, the United Kingdom has to be neutral. So if there is any joint action in Asia, we count with British neutrality if we go and expand in it.
That is rather interesting, and just bring into sight an objective that we were very interested in. It was one of my plans in Asia to secure a Spanish colony in the regions of Aka and Siak, which obviously the Dutch do contend at this moment. But given that Asia is the only place we have any real place left to expand in, it was something I was seeking, but I had no real intention of how that might be done without gaining a British response. Perhaps a joint war over Aka right now would be a good idea then.
Do we have the capacity to do it?
We are prepared at this time. I am running a slight deficit, but if we make the war a quick one. I wish to wait until the remaining states have become less tumultuous after the civil war, but I can deal with a bit of a deficit here to launch this war. So conquer state Aka, they're called their allies in, and then I'll claim one of those as well. We'll do it like that. How about we call it a joint war? The Spaniards invade Aka, and then you could invade Bukhara. Do you see where that is?
Hello, King Carlos. I'm here on behalf of the French king, as an ambassador. I come to you to tell you that the war that you are planning on Aceh is problematic. We do support your claim on Brunei, but Aceh is not okay, and that goes beyond our approval of.
This is a joint war with the Portuguese, and as such, the British legally cannot have any form of intervention, as far as I'm aware.
The matter still stands that the French crown does not support such foreign actions.
We spoke repeatedly with the French about these issues. I value our cooperation with the French greatly, but given that they would not provide any measure by which for us to rebuild any of our territories through direct discussions with the British, we must take it upon ourselves to build back our own power. We will not be a second-hand alliance to France. We need to rebuild our strength, and we are doing so.
I see. If that is your plan, then so be it. You know the agreements with the French. You can do what you want in the end. My king will make the final decision. I will bring him those news.
I would like to make it clear. I do value the French greatly, but they are not our sole ally, and we will not be a second fiddle or a subject nation of the French, to make that very clear.
Hello.
Hello there.
This is a delegation of the British Empire here to speak to Portugal mainly because we have a slight conflict of interest here. You are somehow ending up in a war with my puppet. I thought it slightly breaks our defensive alliance if you're fighting me. Yeah. You're fighting East India Company, I believe.
This is a
No.
delegation of the Dutch.
Nope.
The
We are
Netherlands.
not fighting the East
Baris is an independent tribe that is not under the jurisdiction of the Dutch East Indies at this time.
The East India Company has actually dedicated themselves to the Dutch East Indies, to the war by Government Og. If you declare war on Og, you will also be declaring war on the East India Company, the Dutch East Indies, and the Netherlands.
You currently have no claims in this region, and you do not directly control it. So how are you justifying this?
The Dutch East Indies is currently making a claim on it.
You don't have one. We are already in a war. You have no real claim. Do you have any historical treaties to suggest this land is yours?
The Dutch East Indies does have a claim on this region, as established during an agreement between the East India Company and the Dutch East Indies, in splitting zones of influence in the Southeast Asia.
So this is your internal discussions with a subject state of your country, correct?
Between both of our subject countries, as well as between me and Great Britain.
It's confusing because there's two East Indias, right? So there's a British East India and there's a Dutch
Yeah.
East India. He's talking about talking to British East India.
East India.
Portugal would never go. Portugal would never go against a subject of.
We had no interest
No, of
in
course.
conflict with either of your countries. It's just that legally this is an unclaimed region of Asia, and there is no, besides internal treaties between you and your subjects, as far as I'm aware, any actual international agreement for this or any international acknowledgement of these claims.
Right, so there obviously was no, I don't think, any legal treaty signed between any
Correct.
major parties, so it technically is a free state. However, obviously, I think the Netherlands had an agenda to take this land, and by you attempting to take it, there's a conflict of interest here. In order to prevent further conflicts, I think a discussion needs to be had.
We're
between both
very
parties.
open to a discussion here. Absolutely.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so I'm really not the person to speak to about this. Let me go grab my governor, because I think he'll be the best person to speak to.